Okay, so my name is Joel White, Senior Product Manager for IP Cameras. Thanks for joining me. Hopefully the content I'm going to cover moves quickly, you find use. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I'm sure you've walked around the show floor quite a bit. There's probably hundreds of different cameras, if not thousands out there. How do you choose? Really, how do I make a choice on resolution, form factor, design? What cameras fits my need? How do I make a choice? And I'm going to cover all these topics in the presentation really briefly, some of them in depth, but it's really about what information is out there to help you decide. So important factors to consider. It's really about use case. To me, it's what are we trying to do in this business with video surveillance? We're trying to capture and observe events that happen to go on in our environment, to use that video either for loss prevention or other purposes, but it's really all about the video. What am I capturing, and is it going to fit the need that I have and the purpose? So that's my objective. And my camera choice, first and foremost, has to meet that objective. So beyond that, it's what form factors, camera indoor, outdoor, are there temperature constraints? What's my recording system? We're not just buying cameras, typically we're buying solutions. And does the camera I'm selecting work on the solution that I'm going to deploy? So that's important. Field of view, is my camera need to see 180 degrees? How far is the camera from the subject? Resolution and field of view, important to consider. And then of course, budget. How much is the camera? If my price point only has a maximum ceiling, I need to look at cameras that fit my use case and also that boundary of price. So there are cameras out there that can meet everything you need. Really, it's how do I choose? So I think for the most part, you look around, you see cameras in 2, 3, 5, 10, 15, even 20 megapixel cameras out there. There are pluses and minuses as you go up that resolution ladder, and there are also advantages and disadvantages. So you really have to figure out, what is it do I need? One specific area, and we have customers who have this need, do I need to track subjects in my environment? Because if you do, and we work with one customer where in the retail environment they're paid a bounty. So the person, the security officers in the control room get paid by how many people they catch shoplifting in the store. So a camera that can track accurately, capture that event, is critical to their success and their paycheck. So the right tool for that purpose is really critical to their choice. Weather conditions, am I indoors or outdoors? We have a customer, they're a meat packer. So they run cameras inside a meat locker in cold temperatures all day long, and at the end of the day they blast the cameras with boiling water to clean them off. So you need a camera that's waterproof, it's not going to fog up and condensate on the dome, and if it does the camera have the capability to clear that condensation? So there are very particular requirements that have to be met, and the camera choice is really going to determine how that happens. Looks. We know from experience that looks matter, and in some countries, box and bullet are the formats of choice. Here in North America, typically it's mini domes. But in our product lines, you'll find we have black colored cameras, we have white colored cameras. We have some customers that will not buy a camera unless it's black. So we can't sell them a VMS, we can't sell them anything unless we have options in our portfolio, which is what we do. So again, what's my budget? Camera always has to fit that price point. So from a form factor perspective, and this is kind of our view of the world, products we offer mini domes, and those are really what I think are the form factor of choice here in North America. I think you'll see more domes at this show and more domes deployed in environments, but they're a robust, rugged solution. In our case, they're all vandal resistant. We have indoor and outdoor, with IR, without IR. There's many different options in the mini domes, and then you also have to have mounting solutions to go with them. So one of the advantages we look for is it easy to mount the camera? Can I put it flat on a wall, flush in a ceiling? Are there pendant caps? Are there all types of options so that I can get that camera into my environment the way I need to do it cost effectively and easily from the installation perspective. A compact mini domes. So here we have lower price point option, a fixed focal length, but it's still an HD quality, high quality image, but it's a way to get HD at a lower price point into your installation. Bullet cameras. Bullet cameras for us, it's really a rugged platform, and what you would expect in a bullet in our product line is everything you need to install and get that camera ready to roll is in the box. You don't need a mount, you don't need an accessory, everything's included with the bullet. When you look at box cameras, I look at box cameras and I say it's the ultimate in flexibility. It's a recording platform. You choose the lens. If I need to see 300 yards out across the parking lot, there's a lens out there to meet that need. If I need to deploy this camera in a situation that's minus 40 degrees and I need a wiper on the housing, there are housings to meet that need. So a box camera gets you the ability to customize and tailor a camera really to anything you might need to do from an installation perspective. I think you'll see around the show floor and trends in the industry, there are specialty cameras that are coming out, and most typically a fisheye camera. So what's the advantage of a fisheye camera? It's looking 360 degrees all the time. That's a great plus. I can have a camera that gives me excellent situational awareness, in many cases high megapixel, but the disadvantage to fisheye is their operational sweet spot is really within 20 to 25 feet from the camera. So if my ceilings are 15 feet high and I put a camera up there, the further away I get from that camera, the smaller my subject is. And even at 5 megapixels of resolution, as those subjects get 20, 30, 40 feet away from the camera, I may not have enough resolution to really give me the detail I'm looking for from those cameras. So fisheye, excellent. It's looking everywhere all the time. Disadvantage, the pixel resolution, the further away, falls off much faster than another camera. PTZs, excellent camera if you need to track and really zoom in on an event in your environment. One of the key disadvantages we always hear is my PTZ is always looking in the wrong direction. The event happened there, the PTZ was looking here. So how do you decide? In this diagram up here really is a classic example in a retail store where it's a combination of products to deliver the solution. Over the registers on the far right, fixed cameras. The large circles you see are actually fisheye cameras where their field of view is overlapping to compensate for some of that lens fall off. So they have broad situational awareness across the entire floor of the store, but central in there looks kind of like the gray home plate. It's a PTZ. So if there's an event that happens, you capture on your fisheye cameras, but you really need to now track that event, identify that person. The PTZ, the operators in the control room know where to point that PTZ because they picked up that event off of what the fisheye cameras were looking at. But the PTZ is really delivering that video they're going to need at the end of the day with easily identifiable subject inside that video. Resolution, how much do you need? I actually came out of the consumer industry where the world was taught the more megapixels the better. It's kind of counterintuitive because it's not true. In the consumer world, the more megapixels you have in a camera, actually the less quality you're getting out of your camera and in your image. In our industry, it's high resolution is needed, but there are trade-offs. If I go up to 3 and 5 megapixel, now I have to store more data. I have to transport more data across my network. But what's the advantage? What's my use case? So if you look at this image that was captured, if I need to zoom in and look at those two people standing there, and I'm at a D1 resolution, I don't have enough resolution to zoom in and identify those people. If I'm in a megapixel camera, more than likely I have the resolution to maintain definition and be able to identify those subjects. So if my need is really to have a broad field and be able to zoom in and get detail, megapixels what I need. But other options, lenses, right? Can I use optics to do the job for me? In this case, we have two cameras mounted on a building, one with a typical 3 to 9 millimeter lens, one with a 9 to 40 millimeter lens. Now, at 5 meters or 5 millimeters and 160 feet, that subject out there doesn't give me enough resolution to identify who it is. But in the exact same install spot on the building, a camera with a much longer focal length lens is able to give me the pixels of definition I can use to now identify that same person from the same distance. So in our case, when you look at our portfolio of 1 and 2 megapixel cameras, we have telephoto options, which we call a trench killer. I could certainly dig a trench and run wiring out and install cameras out near that area, but I can also save all that cost, mount a camera on my building with a longer lens and accomplish the same goal. So using optics to bring the scene closer is an option you should look at and consider. So distance and resolution, how does it all combine? In this situation in an office lobby, I have the ability to put my camera 20 feet from that door, and my objective is I want to monitor people coming in and be able to identify who they are. How much resolution do I need for that? Do I need megapixel, or is a standard D1 going to do the job? How can you be sure? We have a partner. We offer Thea lenses in some of our products, but we have on our website an excellent tool. It's a lens calculator. Not only does it help you with understanding what zoom range you might need, but it's also going to help you with resolution. So if you look up in the resolution area at the top, I just don't put in a 4-SIF or a D1 resolution. I'm 20 feet from the subject and I choose small office, and what the calculator is going to show me is there's my subject, and if I zoom in and look at him, yeah, I do have enough resolution at D1 20 feet away to identify people coming in that doorway. So I don't need to go to the cost of megapixel in that case. I can deploy D1. What's my advantage? Less bandwidth, less storage, and I still accomplish the task I set out to do, which is identify the people coming in to my facility. Other situations, right, where we use that long parking lot situation. In this case, I'm using the lens calculator to look at megapixel cameras and understand, is a 9 millimeter lens going to give me what I need, or do I need a longer lens? And I use 20 millimeters on the 9 to 40 in this case. So typically you're going to look at how many pixels per foot do I need to really identify and zoom in and still have detail. So typically around 25 pixels per foot is what you need. So 9 millimeters, looking out across 125 foot distance, if I want to be able to read license plates out there, I really can't. I have 24 pixels per foot. It's going to be a challenge for me to understand what's going on. A 20 millimeter lens, on the other hand, is going to give me more than enough resolution to read those license plates. So it's all about lens choice, how to deploy the right camera with the right lens and the right resolution to get me that result. Other ways to look at it, this is that same scene, and the calculator has this nice tool, allows you to zoom in, and when you talk about digital zoom, this is a good example of optical versus digital zoom. At 24 pixels per foot, when I zoom in, I really don't have much detail. So when you look at cameras that say they have digital zoom, all you're effectively doing is reducing the resolution and zooming in on pixels. So digital zoom is a feature that you might think twice about when you're shopping for a camera. You go with pure optical, capture that, and then zoom in after the fact like I did here on the license plate, and you can see that there's much more detail to allow for a zoom in. So I like to say capture the pure optical resolution of the camera's capability, and then if you need to do some zooming in, you can do it after the fact on your recorder platform. Other considerations, I mean, we have talked about it a little bit at the beginning. What's my location? What's the environment? Is it indoors, outdoors, weather conditions? Do I need an IR illuminator because there's no available light and I need to be able to capture information either at night or in complete darkness indoors? Cosmetics, I talked about camera color. It's all these things weigh into that decision and help you narrow down into those choices. One last thing I'll cover, which is specifications. I think in many cases our industry is driven by specifications, and the one thing I can say is there are no industry standards on specifications. Low light specs often important, but what does a low light spec of 1 lux or 0.01 lux on a camera actually mean? I tested a camera from a partner of ours, and they said, well, our cameras work at 0.01 lux. And I said, well, your low light performance was relatively unusable below 5 lux. And they said, but we're 0.01. I said, well, what does that mean? That's the spec from the sensor manufacturer that they're using. So when you look at a camera spec and it says this is what it can do, you really have to question that and say at 0.01 lux, maybe there was a picture on the screen that you could look at. But if there's so much noise that it's going to drive your storage costs way over the boundary limit and you really can't see what's going on in that image at 0.01 lux, yeah, maybe the sensor is sensitive at that light level, but is the image really usable for my use case? Does it do anything for me and help me at the job I have to do every day, which is use that video, analyze it, and prevent loss? So what I like to say on specs is use the specs, narrow down your choices to the 3 or the 4 that you think are going to fit, and if possible, put them side by side and test them, because WDR, bandwidth use, low light sensitivity, it's going to vary manufacturer by manufacturer, and one company's specs and way of measuring is vastly different than another. And the only way to tell for sure is to shoot those cameras out in your own situation and really see what that video can produce. All right, I thank you for your time. Hopefully the information was valuable to you. And we have many products out in the booth. Feel free, wander around, ask questions. And if anything for me, I'm here. You can ask me after we're done.